What were the film takeaways?
Film takeaways, we gave up 13 points on 3 turnovers. We can't turn the ball over on the offensive side of the ball. It was a 12-point game, but we have to do a better job offensively in all phases, especially in the turnover game. And then all the turnovers came different ways. We need to protect better. We need to route run better. We need to play the ball better. So it's all the front, the receivers and the quarterback all have part of it. So we got to do a better job, especially in the turnover game. You can't lose a turnover battle on the road in this conference and expect to win football games.
I know, obviously you can't control whether it's a pick six or not, but to have three in a row, how do you kind of address that going forward?
They're all the same. They're all the same, and you can't do that. You can't give up points. Defense doesn't even have a shot to get on the field in those situations to stop them. So we're playing well on the defensive side of the ball, and if you look at the games, it's in the 2 games we lost the turnovers. I think we're a real big part of that. So we're gonna get that fixed.
When you say they're the same, do you mean the process, the decision making, the action that went into the pick sixes?
No, all three. Any pick six happens, they're the same. It has the same impact. So that's what I mean by that. The impact of that play is a really big deal. A turnover is a turnover, but a turnover that directly leads to points is a big deal. So.
How do you go about keeping Dante's confidence up right now?
I think that's part of Dante's makeup. I think he's a very resilient young man. I think he's mature beyond most kids of that age. He's still an 18-year-old kid, 18-year-old young man. But I think that's one of the things that's he's got a great set of intangibles. He's a really, really resilient person. I think he has the ability to live in the present. He doesn't live in the past. He doesn't live in the future. He lives in the present, and that's a really special quality for people to have. And so, I think it's something. I think in every situation, I think he learns, and he'll grow from it.
With what he's responsible for on those turnovers, what can he do differently or better? Is it not create?
They're all different in individuals. Sometimes it's decision making. Sometimes it's footwork. So they're all different. So there's not one specific thing. If there's one specific thing, say, hey, do this, and it will never happen again. But each time it expresses itself in kind of a different way. So,
is there an update on Colin Schlee?
He's unavailable today.
Does that look like maybe a long-term
He's
situation?
unavailable today.
Is Ethan Garbers, is he available if you needed him at quarterback?
Yeah. Yes, very much so.
I know you have a pretty good relationship with David Shaw. Mm-hmm. What is your relationship like with Troy Taylor?
I don't know Troy very well at all. I've met him at league meetings, but I don't know Troy that way. I was with David since 2009. We were both head coaches early in our career. Obviously David's son's with us now, so I've known David for a long time. I don't know Troy. I got a lot of respect for Troy. Did an unbelievable job at Sac State. He's doing a really good job now. They had a huge win last weekend. He deserves a ton of credit for what he's doing with those guys, but I don't know him personally.
How were they able to come back in that game down 29-0?
I think they did a good job of really just coming out in the second half, because it was 29-0 at halftime. And again, I saw the coach's copy. I didn't watch the game on TV, but I thought they did a good job of containing a really explosive offense. Shedeur and that group of guys, especially in the throw game, is really, really explosive, and they did a good job of really kind of stemming some of the things that hurt them in the first half. And then the receiver went off. They had a kid in the second half that almost had 300 yards in the second half, and he seemed almost unguardable at times. He had a 93-yarder on a slant. He caught a ball, and a lot of times you give Colorado credit. They're there in coverage, and the kid just made some spectacular plays in terms of catching the football. But the quarterback, I think, got settled down a little bit and knew where to go with the ball. It just seemed like one of those things that just kind of, as bad as the first half was for him, the second half just kind of steamrolled the other way for him. So you got to play for full quarters, especially in this league, and it's tough to win on the road in this league. And for them to go do that in a really hostile environment at Colorado is a real credit to them.
So how do you account for that receiver who did such a great job?
There's got to be a lot of different things. There's not just one coverage. You got to be able to roll coverage to him. You got to be able to push guys underneath him. But they have some other guys too. the Bachmeyer kid, who's a young receiver out there, did a really nice job on some of their things. They lost their tight end Urasek early in that game, so I think they became a little bit more wide receiver driven. But they do have some other players. But I think you got one of those guys that you're going to have to know where he is at all times. I think we faced the same thing when we were facing Josh Kelly at Washington State. Being really aware of where the receivers are is a big deal. So, I think they're growing as a team. They're still trying to figure out their identity, but that win last weekend was a real huge step for them.
You mentioned after the game that you thought the run game was inconsistent. Did that hold up on film, and what did you see? What caused it?
I think there were flashes, and there were times we looked really, really good, and there were other times when, for lack of a better term, we left some meat on the bone. So, we need to continue to grow on the offensive side of the ball. Statistically, when you look at it, we did rush for all the yards, but Colin had a little bit to do with that too himself, and that was a little bit different schematic changeup that we hadn't shown in the past, and Colin did a good job of really taking advantage of what we had. But just we need to be more consistent in terms of just being able to rush the football. So.
Is there anyone else on this quarterback room who can run the Schlee package, Justin or anybody else?
Yeah, we had a lot of kids that can do that stuff, so we'll see what happens with that.
I got a philosophical question for you about college athletes in general. In the NIL era, when some are making CEO money, should that open them up to pro-style criticism when they're making more money than some people are paying to watch the game?
I don't ever think that I would ever lecture anybody on how they're supposed to analyze what a person should do, and everybody is entitled to their own opinion of anything. So it would be very presumptuous of me or anybody else that should say because this guy's doing this, you should treat him in a different way. I think we should all treat people nice when we see them. But that's me. I don't really think of that aspect of it.
Is the calling college players pro athletes now kind of a fair comparison, given that some are making 7 figures?
I don't look at it that way, and I also don't think because a pro athlete makes money that people should be allowed to criticize them. You know what I mean? Does people go into the workforce of some banker and just start heckling him, saying, "Hey, you make $750,000 and the mortgage rates are this. Inflation is at an unbelievable pace. So what the heck are you guys doing? You're absolutely out of your mind. Let's get rid of you. Let's fire this guy and cut this guy and do all that." I mean, it's the nature of sports, and we all got involved in it. We all understand it, and that's the beauty of sports. Everybody is allowed to have their opinion. Everybody thinks they're the manager of the New York Yankees. Everybody thinks they have a better way to do things. That's what makes this country great. You are entitled to your own opinion, but just because someone makes money, I don't think you can put it into that thing. Well, this person makes money, we should do that. So are we going after every CEO on Wall Street? Or are we going after every politician now because the inflation's through the roof? I leave that up to other people. We're trying to get some first downs here.
Kenny Churchwell, is he available today?
Yeah, Kenny will be available today.
Did he play in the game?
He did not play in the game either.
I know it's probably a bit of an ongoing question with all the different conference opponents, but just any thoughts on this potentially being the last go around with Stanford?
Yeah, I mean, it's all sad, and it's all. I have feelings on the whole thing. I think that we should all still be together, and some people should be able to work that out. Let's criticize them. Let's not criticize the high school athletes. Let's criticize the people that are making really good money that have put us in this situation. And so it is sad. I think I've had some great games. Really enjoyed playing up there. I think and Stanford's had such a great tradition of football players, especially in the last 10 or 15 years. The Andrew Lucks and the Toby Gerhardts, and there's been some tremendous players that have come out of it. The Cody Whitfields, I got to make sure I say the Cody Whitfields. There's been some tremendous players there and some great rivalries. I had a chance to coach a couple of them. Zach Ertz is one of the all-time best tight ends to play in this conference and has had a tremendous career in the NFL. And so that part's a little, but it's, we're going to keep saying that almost every week because there's only 4 of us going to one league and another 4 going to another league and 2 that didn't get taken anywhere. And, my feelings on that, I think we should be able to find a way. And you never know in this world. As Kyle Whittingham told me, we were both very waxing melodramatic and he said, "Hey, in 2 years we'll probably be back in the same conference together anyway." So nobody really knows in this whole deal. So.
Did you talk to David Shaw about the situation?
I've not talked to David. I saw David after the last time I saw David was after North Carolina Central game because Carter played. and he was here to watch Cardinals. So Carter did a little bit and played in that game, and that was the last time I talked to David. So.
Think David will be rooting for the Bruins on
I think David will be rooting for Carter. I don't know. I know David Shaw, I know as a person, is probably really, really close to a lot of those players that are still there and is still pulling for those guys. So I have not talked to him this week and don't plan on talking to him this week until after the game. So I would imagine that David Shaw, I know, would be pulling for everybody that he knows. So.
Thank you.
Okay,
Chad.
thanks, guys.